What's going on, fellow explorers? Server Wolves here back in the den. Really appreciate you stopping by. So in this video, as promised, I'm going to be showing you the research I've been doing for the last few months, utilizing Lidar, old maps, all trails, modern day satellite imagery, and putting them all together and coming up with a very potential spot to explore, which I'm going to show you in this video. I'm going to keep it real general because there is a lot to cover. But what you're looking at here, the first thing that you see is Mead's Corner. This is where, in my previous videos, I showed you the two stone chambers that I explored. One being right here where you see the little finger. And the image here on the right hand side is what I've taken standing on top of the chamber looking out. Now to the right is, I believe, Sheep Mountain, which is where we're going to explore. I was going to explore the land, I'm going to minimize this, behind the Mead's Corner chamber. Probably post an image up here when I'm editing this video so you know what I'm talking about. It's private property. Did have a friend knock on a few doors and ask if we could get permission to hike back here, but we got a big no. But it was a blessing in disguise, because after doing a lot of research, I found out that this area has been largely unexplored and unsettled. So we're going to go over to LiDAR imagery. We're also going to go to the satellite imagery, which again, I'm using all trails, which I found has a very high definition, better than Google Maps. You know what, let's go to it now. Now I'm going to kind of be all over the place on this, but let me zoom in. This is, with all trails, you can make your own map, and you could also press record with the app while you're hiking and create a trail. So maybe I'll post this for others who want to check this area out. So the first point of interest is these two rocks, and looking around more closely you can see a third rock, maybe even a fourth and a fifth. So I found this pretty unique. This is the top of Sheep Mountain. Obviously I have to climb to the top of that, and then I'm going to be heading on over to this area. Literally X marks the spot, which also has a lot of interesting unique stone features here when I scroll around. So I'm not going to go too much into depth right at this moment, because I want to show you the reason why I'm choosing these particular locations. So let's go to the historical book that I have been reading. There's actually two, but this one I've been really focusing on. It's a history of Putnam County. Great book. It was published back in 1886, as you can see here. So there was research done prior to that, but he goes through the whole history of the Putnam County area, from when settlers first met with the natives, the Wappingers along the Hudson River, and describing the English ownership of the lands and lots, to where today you have the most up-to-date people that settle in that area, and a little bit of history on them, which you can connect with the maps as well, the historical maps we're going to go over in a moment. So this is the article for this particular location that I came across, which I found very fascinating and promising. I'm going to read it here. So, on the lowlands near the river was in ancient times a settlement of Indians, and relics of the Aborigines were often found. So I was able to get a general idea where he's talking about. When he talks about relics, this has to be something that's brought up in this book and in this video. Sorry, I'm looking at this book at the same time I'm talking. Relics means not like little artifacts that you could hold in your hand, but it also means like structures, foundations, and so forth. Now, let me go back to, so remember that the river, and he mentions also old roads here, which I'm going to review with you in a moment. And then you have the reservoir, which are very good points of reference when you want to try and pinpoint what areas he's talking about. So let's go to the LiDAR. Now I use New York State Discovery GIS data. I found, what you call it, I should have the name at the top of my, the USGS LiDAR. I found it a little bit difficult downloading the images and so forth. So this is the next best thing. I could leave a link down below for you guys in the description. So I found this really unique. This is the chamber right here, this little dot. And if we look going back to chamber 2, You can see another little dot over here, and this is the chamber is pretty much adjacent with Forest Court Road. So I'm going to zoom back over this way, and we can see this is the top of Sheep Mountain. Now, where I became really excited about, this area has been largely unexplored. There's no trails. It is DEP land, Department of Environmental Protection. You do need a permit to hike there, which I already obtained the permits. You need one for your vehicle where you park and one on your person. There's no trails. If you compare it to the other lowland areas here, you could see old walls, very faint. So these locations were very active. So it's kind of like the land's been disturbed, and if there's artifacts there, or if there were older structures, stone structures other than the stone chamber, they're probably gone. And that's why this area, Sheep Mountain, is more exciting. I'm going to be looking for Native American, mostly, stone structures and so forth. There are things like cairns, standing stones with little niches in them that might align with certain points in the distance, or who knows, another sky marker like our summer solstice. Looking for, they're called niches. They're like little portals that they're similar to stone chambers, but you can't get a human to crawl inside of them. Stone enclosures. Native Americans like to use U-shape stone enclosures. Effigies such as turtle effigies, snake effigies, and stone piles. And that brings me to this over here. You know what? Let me bring up the article. It's easier for me to read from the snippet that I made. Here we go. The image is on my other screen. Let's zoom in. So there's a lot of unusual stone piles that you see when you go hiking throughout the New England area. And I heard a lot about them, like what they were for and so forth. And then I found this article. I also have, I'll leave a link for this digital online book free as well in the description. But it goes, Indian looking for the stone, which having found, he cast to a heap, which for ages had been accumulating by passengers like him, who was our guide. We inquired why he observed that rite. He answered that his father practiced it and enjoined it onto him, but he did not like to talk about the subject. So I did hear from, there's a renowned Indian scholar who represents the natives in the history. He's a very popular historian in the area. I did write his name down. I can't find it at the moment, but if I get to it by the end of this video, I'll share it with you guys. But he talks about these stones were a friendly gesture of like, oh hey, there's a good person just passed by, and added to this stone pile. It shows that this is a common way that people walk, and you would see a stone, you would add it to the pile, and the more it grows, it shows that there's like a community that's walking by this area that can relate with each other. That's the best way I could explain that. The other is, it's respecting someone that might have died in that location, and it's a respect to the dead, so to speak. So we're going to be looking for old burial grounds like that. And if you guys have any information, please leave it in the comments below. If you could explain it better than me. So this is a reconnaissance mission. I'm going to be gathering a lot of data. Let me minimize this. The Indians that occupied this location were the Nakpum. They were a branch of the Wappingers that that were called the River Indians, that mostly settled along the rivers, but they had little branches that went out. The Nakpum was one of them, and they were considered the Highland Indians, and they pretty much located this area. They had a main area over in Oscawana Lake, it's called. I can't find it on the map right now, but that was their main tribal location, settlement, but they had little even branches out from there. So the Nakpum were in this location. You have Neiman Mountain, which is a very popular site where there's been a lot of Native American artifacts and settlements found. So this is where I've been. Oh, I want to show you the historical maps I've been looking at as well. Utilizing what was read in the book, this is the old river he's talking about, and in the lowlands by the river, that's where a lot of ancient relics, Native American relics, were found. And here you have Sheep Mountain. This is one of the later maps. I believe it's 1876. My favorite map to look at, and I'm going to show you Putnam County here. You know what? I'm going to clock out of this. So I used the New York Heritage Digital Collection site. They have a lot of old historic data and pictures and maps of the Putnam County area. If you scroll down, you can see where it says maps. You click on that, and that'll bring you to other maps as well. This is the 1854 map. So once you get to the site, once you get to the map location, your map of your choice, you click on this. And here, you could really zoom in and get some really great detail of this whole area back in 1854. And here again, we have Sheep Mountain. We don't have the reservoir built yet. It actually shows you down here where there used to be an old church and an old graveyard, and that was inundated when they built the dam and created the reservoir for the water going to New York City. And here you can see the old river and who has settled in these particular locations. You know, a lot of people believe that these earlier settlers were the ones that built the chambers. It's quite possible. You have these settlements right here, very close to the chamber. You also have to take note that these old main roads were the old Indian trails that were repurposed by the earlier settlers in this area. So it's only natural that these trails would go by the chambers because they're great mile markers, like, oh, okay, this is where we're at, and so forth. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of bushwhacking when I get in there. It's been a lot of fun researching this stuff. It's learning about the different people here. There is a new cemetery. Let me get to that. So you have the Union Cemetery, which we are going to be exploring as well. What this guy is doing back here, this little shady car. And with all trails now, going back to the beginning where I showed you, I believe I could park over here. I'll put my parking permit and just jump into the woods. I'm going to be doing a lot of bushwhacking. Going to have a lot of bug spray with me, hopefully. And I want to just explore this whole area in here. I'm going to video record it. I'm going to really give you guys some great pictures and visuals so you can come up with your own conclusions. I'm not going to say who built this, who didn't. I'm just going to find a unique stone site and I'm going to record it. This is a mission before this becomes settled and everything's lost to time. So yeah, just moving along here. You can see the old stone walls. Definitely, probably, most likely built by the early settlers in this area. So again, I want to keep this relatively not too long. I want to show you the different resources that I'm using and share that with you. Hopefully, we'll find something great in this area. I'm excited. I might have to do it alone. I'm trying to get a lot of people to join me here, but not having much luck because apparently there's a lot of ticks in this area. So I hope you enjoyed this little quick, somewhat of a PowerPoint. Silverwolves out.